Hello, everyone. Welcome to Josh's Boxes. My name is Josh. If you happen to be watching this on a Wednesday, I hope you have a very lovely Wednesday today. Today, I want to talk to you about Razed. Specifically, the last time I made a Razed video, I mentioned that I wanted to make a bunch of unique animals for the world and fit them into a realistic food web. So I thought I'd give a little update about that because there have been some changes and some thoughts since that video many months ago. To summarize, I have not made a realistic food web of every single biome within each continent. I realized that this is an incredibly massive undertaking. And so I do have some animals that I've made that I think are interesting, and I got some thoughts. So this is just going to be hopefully a very quick update video. So get ready. Originally, what I was planning was to take every biome in every continent that I have and create a realistic food web for it. And this would involve, making unique apex predators and opportunistic feeders and grazers and browsers and, just like try and filling all of the niches that that biome has to offer with a unique animal. And that is really hard. I would have to create like 100 unique animals. And I have a good amount of ideas, but there's like so much that I don't have ideas for because I want them to be unique, And it was getting to the point where it was impeding my desire to work on this project because it was so overwhelming. And another thing is, I would want art pieces for all these animals because they're unique. So I'd want you all to be able to see them. And I'm not a super good artist, at least not to the level that I'd like to be. And so for that reason, I just feel like I was hitting a wall with creating these food webs. So today, I want to give you just the ideas that I have and then kind of leave it where it's at for a while and move on to other things of world building that I'm more excited for. So I'm going to open up my notes and share some ideas that I have. Looking through my notes here, it would definitely take me more than 100 unique animals. As I'm looking through, it would probably be more like 300 or 400 unique animals for what I had originally intended because I wanted the continents to have separate animals because the continents are separate. And 300 or 400 unique animals is way too much to create. That's way too many. And so I'll just share some ideas of the ones that I have, and then ideas going forward, and then I'll kind of summarize from there. Anyways, so for the ice caps biome, this is the one the northern ice caps biome, mind you, is the one that I have the most fleshed out. I think it'd be cool if there was like an apex predator that was essentially a really big crab that used its spiky legs to stick into the ice, and it had like a bladed arm that broke holes through the ice to catch its prey or whatever. I think that'd be a cool apex predator. I like the idea of like seal mixed with wild pig, like a warthog or a boar or whatever. So I think filling the niche that like seals and walruses fill in the Arctic would be cool with like these seal pig thingies. As far as aquatic apex predators, I think a combination of an alligator and an orca, where it's got, it's like sleek rather than scaly, but it's got like kind of that longer extended mouth, would be kind of cool. I think that replacing narwhals with whales with beaks rather than like a hornet's got like a beak would be kind of cool. Having giant rays in the Arctic sounds really cool to me. Just really big, like manta ray kind of things. So those are some of my ideas for the Arctic. Then the tundra is the only other biome that I've added ideas to. And I like the idea of like tundra camels that are specifically adjusted to tundra life rather than desert life. I think that would be really cool. They would fill a similar niche to like caribou, for example. And something that I like about an idea that I have about this world in general is kind of like, in a lot of cases, swapping the places between birds and mammals, I think is an interesting idea. And so I like the idea that in place of wolves, there are like flightless predatory birds. I've tried to do like a rough draft concept, so please forgive my not very good art. But this is kind of what I'm thinking. Something like this. The part that I wanted to focus on the most was the beak, because it it kind of shows the robustness that you would need to like break bones or that kind of thing, but also like the sharpness of pulling off meat kind of thing. So I think that is like a cool beak design. So this is, and there would also be like an equivalent of dogs in this world would be these flightless birds that have been tamed and trained for all these different purposes, and there's all these different types. I think that's a really cool idea for the world overall. But in the wild, they would be, kind of like the picture that I showed. I also really like the idea that bats or flying mammals is much more common in this world. And so um, it's very common for people in this world to hunt with bats. Like in some places they hunt with like eagles or hawks or falcons, and I like the idea of training bats to do that. And I don't know how that would tie in with echolocation and stuff like that, but I just like the idea of a dude with like a bow, and then there's like a big bat on his shoulder that's like ready to pounce on an animal or whatever. So I think that's cool. Um, Yeah, another idea that I have is similar to the flightless bird, the kind of niche of a fox, where it's like a smaller flightless bird that has like a very pointy beak, so that it can like stab underneath the snow, and get animals that are like tunneling underneath. I think that's a cool idea. Let's see. Yeah, I also, again, flying mammals is really cool. So I think the idea of a flying skunk is kind of cool. It's got stink powers and it flies. So those are some cool animal ideas that I have, and those are the two biomes that I fleshed out the most. Um, Other than that, that's I think that having lots of like octopus and squid and stuff that have shells, like mollusk. I don't know if octopus are technically mollusks or not, but octopi. Um, but I think the idea of like an octopus with a shell is a really cool idea, especially if it's a really big one. Um, so those are some of my animal ideas. Let's see if I've got any other ones. Really, I think that the idea of snakes that tunnel through the sand and then pop up and bite people is cool, or bite their prey, not necessarily people. Um, yeah, and so those are some of my animal ideas. As you can see, they're like very conceptual, and this is where I want to leave it for a little while. I I just found myself getting burnt out trying to think of all these animal ideas. A couple, at the very least 200, because I have like, seven ideas for just one tundra biome. And so, if you put that into, 20 different biomes, some of which like jungles have way more than seven different types of animals, it would just be a ton. It would be so many different animals. And I know that I can take some animals and put them in multiple places. We have wolves in various parts of the world, and they're just like slightly different, or there's lots of different types of like eagles and different types of shark and stuff, and it's all just like minor variations, I guess. But it's just something that is too overwhelming for me. I think it's one of those things that I'm going to have to add to slowly as I get ideas, while I focus my world building energy on other things. That's kind of the plan. I think that's all that I can manage right now for animals. So sorry if you were looking forward to me showing up here with this vast, intricate, Biblaridian style food web, because I just don't have the capacity for that right now. And when I had been watching a lot of Bibliviridian videos who does this like really cool evolution series where he makes all these really just like the dude knows so much about biology, and so he makes these really cool animal niches, and that's kind of what I was going for. But obviously, I'm not Bibliviridian, and so it's just too ambitious of an undertaking for me to do right now. But I do want to keep world building on Raised, so I think I'll just think of animal ideas, build them as they come, spend a little bit of time here and there. What I really, really want to do is make really interesting, um, I guess you could call them humanoid species. Like in a fantasy game, you might call it a race, but I don't want to touch that. So there will be obviously different races in this game, but there will also be like different, like completely different species. Like I've got ideas for like monkey centaurs, basically, or like gorilla centaurs, and lobster people, and humans with spikes, or human-like people with spikes all over their skin and stuff, and like really big fat humans that live up in the Arctic, and they're like walrus people basically. And that's what interests me the most is these humanoid species, but also their cultures. I'm really really interested in building interesting cultures for these people, and having nations and empires, and that's the thing that really interests me the most about this Raised as a world building project. So that is what I'm planning to do next. I'm just gonna pick an area and figure out which people live there. And maybe the next video will be just like an overview of all of the ancestries, I guess you could call them, all the ancestries of the world. And then from there, going into specific like cultures and where they live in the world and elements of their culture and what ancestries are involved in that culture and that kind of thing. So I think that is a cool idea, and that's what really like that's where my energy is at right now with this project. And since I don't want to give it up, I gotta go where my energy's at. Especially as a student, I'm in school right now, and so I don't have a lot of time to just sit around and think of animals. And so that's my plan. That's where I want to go forward. Um, so the next race video will possibly be an overview of the ancestries of Raised. Maybe some pictures. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not super satisfied with my art right now. Um, but maybe I'll do some cartoonish version or something like that just to get the idea across. But that's everything. That's all the things I have going on with Raised right now. I know it's been a bit, so if you have been really looking forward to Raised content, sorry for the wait, but I hope that this shows that I'm still here for it. I'm still excited. I'm still working on it, and there's going to be content at some point in the future. With school, I can't promise anything. But yeah, that's my plan right now. If you want to see where I take this world building project, subscribe so you can see where it goes. If you think my ideas are cool, go ahead and leave a like, or comment which ones you thought would be most interesting. If you have animal ideas, feel free to suggest them in the comments. I'm pretty picky with the types of animals that I want. Um, but if you have some ideas, feel free to suggest them in the comments. And yeah, until next time, ciao. I thought I'd give a little update about that. Specifically, I want to give a little update about some animal web building, world building. Web, wow, that's hard to say. Gee whiz.